Well, this is it. The last Twilight movie is out, and I got a chance to see it Thursday in the theater, and I was blown away, speechless by it. Let's just. It was just. It just blew my mind how epic and grand this movie was. And I know some people say, oh, Twilight sucks and blah 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 and stuff like that and yada yada yada, but this movie is now my favorite in the franchise. I mean, Eclipse was my favorite, now this is my favorite. And I know this is the last one, this last film in the franchise, last nail in the coffin, but this movie was good. It is somewhat fast-paced. It's almost a 2-hour movie. It's like an hour 56-minute long movie. It has some really good moments. The dialogue is good. The cinematography is fantastic. The characters are all well-rounded and stuff like that. It's an amazing movie. And the fact that it's the last one, it's interesting, to say the least. Like I said, before I saw this movie, Eclipse was my favorite of the movies because it had the backstories of Jasper, Rosalie, and the Quileute Wolf Pack. It had that epic battle with the Cullens and the Wolves going up against Victoria's newborn army and all that other stuff. So, yeah. But I need to talk about the other movies first. Okay, Twilight was good. And I say it was great, it was good. I liked it. I thought it was a pretty fair adaptation of the original book, and I liked it. New Moon, on the other hand, is where things got better for the franchise. I think New Moon is where everything got better for me. We get introduced to the Volturi in New Moon, and I think the introduction of Volturi in New Moon was a good idea. Instead of just introducing them in the first movie, they do the smart thing and introduce them in this one because obviously we learn everything about them in the book, and same thing in the movie. And, they're the people that uphold the vampire laws, which is just the one law that no one can know about the existence of vampires, because if humans knew about the vampires, then it would just lead to chaos. Just chaos, and just, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. That's alright, I had to get that joke, that Ghostbusters reference in there. Ghostbusters 2, actually. It was Ghostbusters 2. And I should know, because I have those movies on DVD, so ha 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 ha. But, yeah. And also, the Wolf Pack was introduced in New Moon, which I liked. I did like that a lot. It had something new to the story, and I know that that in Twilight we learned a little bit about them from the story that Jacob told Bella, and stuff like that. So that was good. Then in Eclipse, like I said, we learned the backstory about Jasper and Rosalie and the Quileute Wolf Pack, like the full story. The full story of how the Wolf Pack came to be. It was awesome. And I think that the flashbacks of Jasper and Rosalie's backstory, like how they became vampires, it meant something to the story. Like, those flashbacks, they meant something to the story. Like, for Jasper, his story was about that, he was part of a newborn army, so he knows how they think, he knows how they fight, and that was perfect because, it explains how Jasper knows about all this stuff and how he used that knowledge to help train the Cullens and the wolves how to fight the newborns, which was good. Now, Rosalie's backstory was all about focusing on the fact that, she wanted a family, but now she's a vampire, she can't have that. So, and to me that's another reason why Rosalie did not want Bella to become a vampire. And I think that after learning about her backstory in Eclipse, it made sense as to why Rosalie did not want Bella to become a vampire. It made perfect sense. And yeah, but the story about the Quilly Wolves was another thing I liked about it. And it did a really good job at showing us like the full backstory and stuff like that, and also explains as to why Bella decided to cut her arm or wrist or whatever to make sure that Edward didn't get killed by Riley and Victoria and stuff like that. So that was good. That was good. Now, Breaking Dawn Part 1, I thought it was pretty good. I liked it. The wedding scene went well. The honeymoon stuff on Isle Esme was amazing. And stuff like that. And yes, I know a lot of people talked about the whole Jacob imprinting on Renesmee thing near the end of the movie and stuff like that, but, you know, it's something he can't control. I mean, he didn't do it, like, out of choice, you know, he just did it, and when he did, you know, the Wolfpacks were like, oh, you put on this baby? Okay, we're not gonna kill her anymore. We're not gonna kill her. We're not gonna go after her. You know, we're not gonna fight you Coens anymore. We're just gonna leave now. Okay, bye. So, there we go. Now, for this movie was the epitome of amazing. Let's just leave it at that. Now, like I said when I did my Breaking Dawn Part 1 review, I'm gonna talk about some things that happened in this movie, but I'm not gonna do any big spoilers. Like, I'm not going to talk about the twist ending. Like, there's this big ending twist that I did not see coming at all. Like, that was the one thing that I did not want anyone to spoil for me, because everyone's talking about the ending of this movie, and I wanted to see it for myself. I did not want any spoilers, so this will be a spoiler-free review. But I will talk about it more when I get the movie on DVD, and then I'll do more in-depth talk about it, and I'll also talk about the twist ending. But I'm not going to spoil it. I'm just going to say the ending was... it blew my mind. Like, the ending of this movie just blew my mind. It's just all the stuff coming out of left field. I was like, totally not expecting this to happen. Like, this just, whoa! So, yeah, but like I said, I'm not going to talk about the ending. I'm not going to spoil it, so there you go. So, the way this movie begins, though, now, normally in the previous movies, we've gotten, we opened it up with the narration by Bella talking about, you know, just talking about little things, you know, like what's gonna happen in the movie and stuff like that, and, you know, saying lines, you know, she says something in the beginning that she'll say, like, towards the end of the movie and stuff like that, you know, we get it, we freaking get it. But I don't think they did that in part 1, I think, but, yeah. So part 2 opens up with the credits. Like, the credits you probably see, like before the scrolling credits and stuff like that. It's like the credits you see, like, how they, like, when you look at the back of the DVD and you see, like, some of the people that worked on the movie, it opened kind of like that, really. And I was not expecting that at all, but again, this is the last movie. They're going to pull out all the stops here. So, yeah, they're not holding back in this movie at all. But yeah, and of course we hear Bella's lullaby again, done by Carter Burwell, and we heard it, like, near the end of the first, of part 1 of Breaking Dawn. And so this movie opens up with Bella as a vampire. She's a vampire now, and you know, she's experiencing all these cool things, and then she sees Edward, and, you know, since she's a newborn, she's really strong, and, you know, and Edward's like, hey, Bella, can you try not to break me here? That was hilarious. And of course, since Bella's a newborn now, she's thirsty, so Edward and Bella go off, and Bella starts hunting for the first time. She's trying to find some way to sustain herself. And at first she's going after a deer, but then she smells mountain climber, who scrapes his arm and tries to go after him, but then she tries again with the deer, and then instead she goes after a cougar, and it was amazing, really. I mean, I'm saying this right now, Vampire Bella is awesome. Vampire Bella is the coolest thing ever. Like, she is so freaking awesome as a vampire. She just rocks. And, you know, the fact that Kristen Stewart, you know, her acting has improved over the films, and in this movie, her acting is amazing. I mean, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Her acting was amazing in this movie. I mean, you know, she's no longer, like, deadpan and, you know, doing the whole lip biting thing and the nervous twitch and stuff like that. Like, her acting in this movie is really good. But like I said, her acting has gotten better as the franchise has gone on. And now that this is the last movie, again, they're pulling out all the stops. So her acting in this movie is 100% amazing. So kudos to you, Kristen Stewart. Kudos to you. Your acting has gotten better over the course of these movies, and I congratulate you for doing a really good job in this movie. So, kudos to you. Kudos to you. So yes, after Bella has fed, Jacob shows up, and then he tells Bella that he imprinted on Renesmee, who he nicknames Nessie, and Bella does not like that at all. She's like, "You nicknamed my daughter after the Loch Ness Monster?" Like, she was just angry as all hell because of that. And Jacob was like, "I'm sorry, it's a wolf thing. I can't control it," and stuff like that, and blah, 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 blah. And they talked about the whole imprinting thing in Eclipse as well. It's something that they have no control over. It just happens unexpectedly, and they cannot will it to happen. It's just something that happens, and they cannot control it at all. So Bella gets really pissed about that, and she hits Seth, and, you know, she injures Seth, and Bella's like, "Seth, I'm sorry," and, you know, I was like, wow. Again, Vampire Bella is awesome. So, yeah. And then we see Renesmee, who's still a baby, and I know some people have talked about this, like, the baby is CGI, like, baby Renesmee is CGI. I have no idea why. It's just so weird. So weird. So then, Edward and Bella, they get their own place, and, you know, there's a room there for Renesmee, and then Bella and Edward, completely left field, have vampire sex. Yes, vampire sex. I mean, just, wow. Like, I get it, they're married, but they're vampires now, and it's just really weird. It just comes out of left field. I mean, just, holy shit. But yeah. So then after that, they notice that Renesmee is growing up and really fast, and then we see her, as she'll be throughout the rest of the movie, played by this very talented girl by the name of Mackenzie Foy. Here's the problem, though. She barely has any lines of dialogue. I think it's just like 2 or 3 lines of dialogue, and that's it. That's it. But again, you know, this is the second part of this movie, and of course, you know, it makes sense why they divided this thing into 2 parts, because the book just covers so many things, they cannot condense it all down. Just like they did with Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows, you know, and what they're gonna do with the Hunger Games, Mockingjay, and all this other stuff. And here's another thing I have a question about. Why is The Hobbit gonna be a trilogy? It's 1 book, people. 1 book. You can divide it into 2 movies, that'd be fine, but 3 movies, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I get it, Lord of the Rings, 3 individual books, 3 individual movies. The Hobbit, 1 book. You can make 2 movies out of it, but 3, I just don't get it. At all. Like, it does not make any sense. But yeah, so anywho. So then there's this scene where Jacob, Renesmee, and Bella are out. It's like winter, and then they notice one of the Denali cousins, Irina or something like that, and when Irina sees Renesmee, she thinks Renesmee is an immortal child, and she tells off to the Volturi that, I had to put her crying, the Colons have done something terrible, they created an immortal child, ooh. And then we find about the immortal children, and we find out that Denali's mother actually created an immortal child, and she got punished for that. Like she got decapitated and burned. The baby got burned. It just, wow. It was not good for the Denali sisters at all. So that kind of made sense as to why Irina told off the Cullens to the Volturi. So, yeah. So anywho, so then the Cullens have to gather up all these witnesses and stuff like that, and then Alice and Jasper leave for some undisclosed reason, but if you read the book, they went to find their own witness. Like, they're trying to find, they're trying to find someone who's kind of in the same situation as Renesmee, because Renesmee is half mortal, half immortal, so they're trying to find someone who's half immortal, half mortal, just like Renesmee. So they're off doing that. The Cullens are off gathering their witnesses, all these different covens that they're friends with and stuff like that. And then Bella goes up to Seattle to see this guy named Jay Jenks, and he's arranged passport stuff, and travel papers for Jacob and Renesmee, just in case things go wrong and stuff like that. So, yeah, that was pretty interesting. So, stuff like that. And some of the covens, particular members of the covens have unique powers. Like this one guy from the Egyptian coven named Benjamin, who can control the elements. It's almost like Captain Planet, really, except without the heart. But yeah, he can control the elements, and it's really, really good. I can see that the fact that the Cullens, they're not the only coven. Some of the people from the coven have these cool powers. Alice can see the future. Jasper does the whole this whole emotion thing. You play with people's emotions, something like that. And all this other stuff. Edward can read minds, and Bella is a shield. She has this ability to shield herself from mental abilities, things over the mind. And she can project that shield to other people, and that's an amazing power, really. I mean, that's probably why, during the first couple movies, Edward could not read Bella's mind. And now that we know why that is, it makes sense. So, and that's another thing too, these vampires have these cool powers. It's they had these powers somewhat in their human lives, but when you turn to a vampire, those powers get heightened and intensified. You can actually do these things better as a vampire than you did when you were human, which makes sense. It makes sense. So there you go. So yeah, and then of course the wolf pack. They join the side of the good vampires and stuff like that, and then they meet in this snowy area, and then the Cullens, their allies, and the wolves are on one side, the Volturi is on the other side, and all sort of stuff. And then we get to the big ending, which, again, I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to spoil anything, so that's what I'm going to say about it right now, okay? So, Breaking Dawn Part 2, as an ending to the franchise, I think it was really, really good. I loved it. And so, yeah. So, now that the franchise is over, there's still some other things left to enjoy. There's The Hobbit coming out later on. Hunger Games Catching Fire coming out next year. So yeah, I mean, now that Twilight is over, um, there's there's just there's just pretty much anything that can be done now. You know, you could become a Hunger Games fan now. Like, this is what I think Twilight should do. Now that Twilight is over, they should try to expand it to try and enjoy other franchises, like the Hunger Games. And here's why. The Hunger Games, to me, is pretty much marketed to the same audience as Twilight. And I think that Twilight fans will enjoy the Hunger Games, even though it doesn't have, like, sparkly vampires and werewolves and stuff like that, blah, 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 blah. I still think that Twilight fans should try to become fans of the Hunger Games because, A, both franchises have a strong female lead character. Second of all, they're marketed towards the same audience. Like, the Hunger Games books and the movies, they're geared towards the same audience as Twilight, which I think is kind of a smart thing to do, really. So, yeah, so that's all I have to say for now. Again, I'll do a more detailed analysis of the movie when it comes out on DVD, and, you know, that way, you know, I can talk about it more, talk more about the ending. And really, when I do that review, I'll mainly get into the ending. So this would be considered like just like a general review of the movie, but when I get a DVD copy of Breaking Dawn Part 2, I'll just mainly talk about the ending, what I liked, what I didn't like, and just go on from there. So yeah, that's it for now. I'll talk to you guys sometime later, and I'm probably going to do a top 10 list about my favorite movies that I saw this year. So yeah, so until next time, live long and prosper. Peace out. Bye.